March 12th, 1987. A young developer named Hironobu Sakaguchi is working for a struggling game company, Square. He has a desire to make a role-playing game, but they keep denying him as they don't see the potential for it. However, when Chunsoft's Dragon Quest showed incredible sales and popularity, they finally caved in. With a combat system based on Dungeons & Dragons, a team of 7 people, a hope, and a dream, this would be the company's last hurrah. This would be their last chance to make something that would let these people stay employed, cement their legacy, and continue doing the work they love. This would be their Final Fantasy. Now, if you're watching this video at 2 a.m. because you can't sleep, or you're doing a chore that you've been procrastinating and you somehow don't know what Final Fantasy is, you're not at fault, you're just an anomaly. But to answer what a Final Fantasy is also a big question. They're a series of Japanese role-playing games, each with massive worlds, unique soundtracks, immersive stories, personal parties, and twists upon twists that would put M. Night Shyamalan to shame. But that could be any plain Jane RPG. Final Fantasy, in the words of Hironobu, is this comes down from someone who also works on the development side, and it honestly boils down to the challenges you come across and the adventure you take on to build a new system for their new game. The Final Fantasy series has continued on for so long that you might think, well, why don't you just try to make something similar like you did before? And I don't think that works. With each new title, you should carry that sense of adventure and courage to take on new challenges. If you continue with that mindset and move forward, then the gravity of Final Fantasy will start to work for everyone and pull people in, which then results in a Final Fantasy for anyone. Any game can be an RPG, but this comment I found while researching on Reddit regarding Hironobu perfectly sums up my thoughts about these games. To Sakaguchi, the soul of Final Fantasy is not complicated. It is putting your heart and soul into a creation, not treating it like a product, and leaving no room for sequels. Considering 13, this statement is pretty ironic. Even if there's development delays and deadlines, you must feel empty and out of ideas after its completion. Well, all that in the blue menu screen. To the creator, that is how you make a Final Fantasy. These games consistently have felt leagues above other RPGs to me, as they are labors of love. Many of my core memories in my late teens and early 20s have been exploring JRPGs. From the first time I played Persona 5 making me fall in love with turn-based combat, to really understanding the complexities of Pokemon, the wide world of Final Fantasy VII, and then at long last, the place where it all started, possibly my favorite Final Fantasy game, and the subject of today's video, Final Fantasy I. We have a lot of choices for how we want to go about this. I own 3 copies of the game after all, for NES, PSP, and the Pixel Remaster for Switch. I asked my Discord server, shameless plug, which copy to play, and then we streamed the entire game for research on Twitch TV/GoryCory06. This is the last of my shameless plugs, I promise. They chose the Nintendo Switch version. Fuck. While it may be the most convenient way to play the game, introducing speed up and the ability to turn encounters off, it has the hardest version of the final boss. While he has 2000 HP in the NES version, he has 20,000 in the Switch port, because Square heard us talking shit saying he was too easy. But that's besides the point. For now, we must begin our journey. The main title screen appears with an enchanting melody you've been hearing in the background. Upon starting the game, we must choose 4 heroes. Personally, I chose a warrior named Dougling, a thief named Hoa, a white mage named Cory, and a black mage named Calcifer. Our adventure starts in a small town named Cornelia. A prophecy once foretold of 4 heroes wielding the Stones of Light. The heroes meet with the king, who tells them the once legendary hero Garland has kidnapped the Princess of Cornelia and must be saved at any cost. In return for the rescue, he'll repair the bridge. Once they show the kings their stones, confirming them as heroes, they have an awkward encounter when Hoa's stone turns out to be made out of paltry glass. I promise I did not fuck up the character picking. So the real second hero of light, a monk named Sean, joins them. They all join up together to kill this imposter that has joined their ranks. The safety of the heroes secured, they go out into Cornelia, acquiring weapons, armor, and a handful of spells for Calcifer, such as fire and thunder, and a miracle for Cory, Cure. They would have picked up Dia to allow Cory to hurt the undead, but it frankly would have been a waste of a spell slot when he has a feeling there will be a stronger Dia to find elsewhere. They leave town with high spirits, feeling like a grand adventure is about to begin. However, they're kind of pathetic in terms of strength. They're gonna need to grind until they are an appropriate Garland killing level, like level 3. Now that's the kind of level we call ancient heroes at. Upon hitting our new very powerful level, the heroes head up north. I have to mention this while we're setting up the plot, but the remaster for this game has fixed so many issues the original has, such as encounter rates not being as extreme, increasing XP amounts to make up for the new level cap, as well as a fix to the mechanic where if 2 allies would swing at the same enemy and one killed it first, the other will actually swing at a different enemy, rather than swinging at air like an idiot. It's a small touch, but it makes all the difference in terms of balancing difficulty. Anyways, back to serious story mode. Our heroes enter the Shrine of Chaos. The air is heavy, ancient. No man should be here. It feels as if something far more ancient than anything that should exist is somewhere here today. They push forward, finding a few paltry items in chests, a helmet and a potion. The last two doors seem to be locked by a mystic force, so it leaves only one more door. Inside, the armored knight stands over a helpless princess, bound and gagged on the floor. The king will have no choice but to exchange the kingdom for his daughter's life. Cornelia will be mine. He senses their presence and turns to them. Who goes there? The king's a lapdog. Do you have any idea who you're messing with? You really think you have what it takes to cross swords with me? Very well. I, Garland, shall knock you down. The fight begins. Swords clash, nunchucks fly, hammers are swung, fire and thunder dart across the chamber. And alas, our heroes may have been level 3, but Garland was only level 2. What a shame. The princess is cut free and helped to her feet. You've come to rescue me. I'm Sarah, Princess of Cornelia. Words could never be enough to thank you. That was the first time anyone's defeated Garland. You must allow me to show my gratitude. Please accompany me to Cornelia. And with that, the heroes saved Cornelia. What do you mean there's more? That was only the prologue? That took so long to edit and put together and we're just here? Man, being a hero sucks. Our heroes escort the princess back to her home, the king eternally grateful for their heroism. He orders a bridge to be built, and the princess gifts them a lyre that Garland had taken from her. Definitely not connected to the spooky glowing orb in the room that everyone ignored. Ha 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 ha, that'd be crazy, ha! And the king also tells them of the full prophecy. The world lies shrouded in darkness. The winds die, the seas rage, and the earth decays. But the people believe in a prophecy, patiently waiting for its fulfillment. When darkness veils the world, 4 warriors of light shall come. After a long journey, 4 young warriors did at last appear, and in the hand of each was a crystal. As we cross the bridge, we see a lovely screen of the heroes, and a very long monologue scroll begins. And so their quest began. As the 4 warriors of light, they felt overwhelmed by the great task destiny had laid before them. They did not know the significance of the 4 crystals they held in their hands, the crystals that once had shone so brilliantly. The time for their journey had come. The time to cast off the veil of darkness and bring the world once more into light. This seems like as good a time as any to mention how gorgeous the pixel remaster of Final Fantasy I looks and sounds. Everything has been faithfully remade in the image of the original while bringing a new life to environments that have been dull once before. There's only one version of this game that looks better, and it's the PSP. The chat didn't vote for that, so I'm withholding information. As the heroes set out onto the now semi-open world, they encounter a small cave in the hills where brooms are moving on their own, and a witch fumbles about, screaming about her crystal eye. They carefully back out of the cave, as witches are spooky, but not in the real world, as some of my friends are witches and are the opposite of scary. Upon checking the map, they realize where their next destination likely is, Pravoka. Upon arriving, the town seemed silent, and a tension hung in the air. But they couldn't locate the source yet. So, they grinded! Let's go, baby! It's all about the grind! They bought 2 new spells for Calcifer, Blizzard and Temper, but found nothing of use for Corey. As they wandered town, they finally realized what was the reason for the tension. Pirates. The warriors spring to action, cutting down the pirates, leaving just the captain alive. Scared shitless of dying, he says he's going to go straight and gives his ship to the party. This is a massive win, as we can now get across the sea to the only other available port in this closed-off area, Elfheim, city and kingdoms of the elves. They almost died several times at sea, closer calls than any would appreciate. Upon reaching Elfheim, the heroes rest and recoup. Once they had gotten their strength back, they knew the simple truth of the matter. They needed to be stronger. They spent a considerable amount of time grinding, killing, hunting beasts into near extinction. Corey's hunch finally paid off as they found Diara, a wider-spread miracle that would allow them to kill rows of the undead in one go. Sean traded in his old nunchucks for a pair of iron nunchuck. Dougling traded his short sword for a proper broadsword. Calcifer learned Fire and Thundara, and Corey learned Kira and Heal. Final Fantasy's combat is based off of one of the oldest RPGs, Dungeons & Dragons, so instead of using MP, it runs on spell slots. At certain levels, you get certain level spell slots, and it increases the amount of spells you can cast at any given time. While there is a shop in Elfheim that offers even stronger spells, it doesn't seem like our heroes will get any stronger hanging around here. They seek the Prince of Elfheim, but it appears he's under a powerful slumber, the Curse of Astos. The heroes venture outwards and find two split paths, one going into the mountains and one with a castle in the distance. They decided the mountains seemed like the best bet at this particular moment, as where else would a curse bearer hide? They encounter many powerful foes in the mountains, including several poison-spitting scorpions that almost spell the end of our heroes because poison is such a dumb status effect. In Final Fantasy I, every step you take while poisoned hurts you until you reach 1 HP, but the poison won't kill you. It will just guarantee any fight will kill you, so stock up on antidotes, which brings me to another point. People can complain about this, but in a situation where I was poisoned and had no antidotes, I would turn off encounters and go back to town to rest up, as death creates an unfortunate imbalance in your party. When a party member dies, you're basically lugging a corpse around, and unless some serious historical revisionism happens in the minutes following their death, dead people do not become better people, unlike alive people. So you need to either use a Phoenix Down or go all the way back to town to find a church to pay a fee to revive your party member. But then you'll be forever stuck with a situation where your party member's XP values and levels will never match up again. It makes sense, but Anyways, back to the story. Our heroes find a marsh cave that goes deep underground, various chests filled with goodies of all varieties from potions to a single rare Phoenix Down. However, as they enter the last chamber at the bottom of the cave, inside springs out 4 psycho demons, powerful tentacle-faced monsters with very aggressive magic. The heroes manage to take them on, hanging on by a thread. Fear the might of level 13 heroes! Inside, they found a lone crown. It seems this was the wrong direction, or was it? This left only one more pathway, the castle ahead. If Astos was going to be anywhere, it'd be there. Our heroes decided that they needed to return to Elfheim for a rest, as they had also felt they'd grown stronger and could handle more powerful magics. Calcifer picked up Haste and Blizzara, 2 very important spells in his toolkit. With that, they made their way back to the castle they'd seen off in the distance and met a fearsome foe. Astos sat on a throne awaiting them. "Mwahaha! You fools fell right into my trap. I am Astos, King of Dark Elves. With the combined power of the crown you already hold and the crystal eye I already possess, I will become the true Elf King. It is useless to resist me. I can take what is mine by sheer force." Calcifer threw temper and haste on Dugging, speeding up his blows and making them stronger, quickly cutting down Astos, the true power of level 14 heroes. From his head fell a crystal eye. Disgusting. The heroes collected the crystal eye and realized it was for the witch they had met earlier. They sailed out to sea again until they arrived in her cave, handing her said eye. She introduced herself as Matoya and gave them a jolt tonic. Our heroes then once again sailed to go back to Elfheim to give the prince the potion they had received. He awoke, thanking them deeply for their service, granting them a mystic key. This will unlock the mysterious doors our heroes have been seeing around the continent. They ran around collecting various bits of loot, but most important of it all was nitro powder. Venturing westward, they found a cave with dwarves in it whom offered a solution to the massive land that was locking them in. They take the nitro powder and blow up the canal. I'm sure that won't have any negative effects on the environment. And with that, the world of Final Fantasy really opens up to us. We're not locked anywhere we want to go, except for the level of monsters, because it's a grid system and you don't want to wander the wrong place, lest you meet some zombie minotaurs. From here, we go to Melmond, a diseased town that is a shadow of what it once was. They do, however, have magic shops where we pick up Heal Aga, D-Aga, and a life for Cori, and a solitary Fire Aga for Calcifer. To the south, they find the Cavern of Earth, a treacherous dungeon that our heroes manage to make their way through till they reach as far down as they can get. Inside of the chamber is a vampire floating ominously. "All things in this world are destined to end in death. The seal cannot be broken, and so the earth shall rot." The bat becomes a man in front of them and the fight begins. "You cannot alter destiny. Mere mortals cannot kill the undying." A single D-Aga and a fire waiter and the vampire is dead. Undying, huh? Level 18 heroes truly do conquer. On the vampire's body is a ruby. They collect their paltry prize and make their way out. The Warriors of Light travel northwest to find the Titan's Cave. Inside, a Titan gobbles up the ruby and steps out of their way, making a path for them. Upon exiting, they find a second cave a little further, with a lone sage inside. "So, you're the ones who defeated the vampire, huh? He was but a servant. The beast corrupting the earth crystal lurks much deeper within the cavern. Here, take this staff with you and use it in the vampire's chamber." With that, they must journey all the way back to the bottom of the earth cave again. Along the way, Sean came to an important realization. The nunchucks are holding them back. It was time for them to use the power of their own fists. At the bottom of the earth cavern, the rod opens a way forward. Further down, full of decaying air and the stench of death, they meet it. The witch. I am he who feeds on the power of earth. I will not be disturbed by mortal men. I am the Lich, the fiend of earth. The battle is tough. All but Dugling fall. But in a last act of desperation, he kills the Lich, hitting level 20. That's like 7 times the Garland killing level. Okay, this joke is getting dumb. I'm gonna stop now. The crystal in front of them glows and awakens, transporting them out of the dungeon. They make their way back to Melmond to recover. Life already seems to be returning to this small town. Knowing their job here was done, our heroes make their way to the other side of the world after advice from a local man that a volcano had become dangerously unstable. The heroes travel across the world itself to reach a small town called Crescent Lake. Here, the Warriors of Light obtain a mithril sword for Dugling, as well as the spells Thundaga and Quake for Calcifer. Off on the side of the town, they find a small deviated pathway they could travel. Deep in this forest clearing was a circle of wizards whom granted our heroes a canoe. This item is not as heavily used in the game, but it still has its purposes. For one, it will allow the hero to travel upstream through treacherous monsters to reach the source of the next fiend, Mount Golg. Inside are floors of lava that slowly damage them as they fight their way through, getting further and further till they reach the bottom. There, they find another orb that awakens into a monstrous form of a creature named Merilith. The power of burning flame is mine and mine alone. Those who would oppose me will burn in hellfire. The battle begins. It's actually a really hard fight, and in my opinion, is the toughest fiend fight in the game. Sean fell in battle, but the fiend was defeated, returning peace to Mount Golg and Crescent Lake. After perking him up with the use of a Phoenix Down, they teleport out of Mount Golg. Traveling through the other stream, they eventually came around to an ice cavern filled with spikes on the ground and spots where one could fall through. After strategically choosing a spot to fall, we encounter the next boss fight. Perhaps the hardest fight in the game. A name that sends shivers into all Final Fantasy I enjoyers, the Evil Eye! It's already dead. They collect an item from him called the Levistone, and make their way out of the cavern back downstream, towards Crescent Lake. It seems the town is now in less panic. They're advised by the Great Spirits Beyond, my game knowledge, as I actually don't remember what guides you to go here in particular, but they go to a desert southwards called the Leakian Desert. Once traveling there, they hold up the Levistone and an airship rises from the sand. Somehow. Anyway, going forward, this will be our main form of transport across this large map. It's perfect, except for one downside. It can only land on grassy plains, so if you need to go somewhere and the only landing spot is halfway across that landmass, you're shit out of luck. Get walking and hope you don't die. Anywho, we make our way to the northern continent and land near a massive tower called the Citadel of Trials. A lone wizard waits inside. You come bearing the crown, I see. Very well, I shall grant you the right to undergo the trials. Go now, sit upon the throne. Upon sitting on the throne, you enter a labyrinth puzzle with teleporters. I actually spent a fair bit of trial and error getting through this, as I couldn't remember exactly what the solution was. Once you finally manage to bash your brain through this brick wall of a puzzle, you find a throne and a chest, and inside is a rat's tail. I fail to see why we came here for this. I've played this game like 4 times now, and I still don't really get it. But when you try to sit on the throne, you're forced to fight 2 dragon zombies. A quick Dialga takes care of that, and we teleport back to the throne that we started at. Supposed treasure in hand, we now have to head to the far left of the map to the Cardia Islands. In these island caves lay dragons, but we're here for the big one, Bahamut. Whether it be as a summon, a boss fight, or blowing up the world of Final Fantasy XIV with Terra Flare, Bahamut is one of the staples of Final Fantasy as a whole. Giving him the rat's tail, he looks upon these brave warriors who cut the tail of a rat off, and speaks. Long have it been since men of courage stood before me. Your bravery seems worthy of consideration. The rat's tail you carry is a fitting token of courage and strength. So be it. I shall honor you with titles befitting your valor. Raising his wings, he uses his powerful magic to transform our heroes. Personally, I've always seen Final Fantasy I as a story of growing up in a sense. We start off as a lowly warrior, martial artist, and mage, but through the course of our journey we transform into a knight, a master, a black wizard, and a white wizard. We are not truly warriors of light, although, funny enough, you can skip this entirely, thus making the game harder for yourself. Refreshed and full of energy, we enter the world ready to end the darkness. First, we must go to the desert oasis and buy a bottled fairy. After this, we must make our way to Gaia and let it free. As a reward for our kindness, we receive Oxy Ale. This will allow us to breathe underwater should we decide to take down the Fiend of Water. Making our way to Anorak, we meet a young woman on the dock who speaks to us. You have Oxy Ale. You're the one we've been waiting for. Please save the mermaids. With that, she disappears from sight. What do you mean there's fucking ghosts in this game? We've encountered every kind of monster, but the ghosts kind of freaks me out. making our way down to the Water Fiend, and this is my favorite theme in the game. It's so moody and atmospheric in a way I can't particularly describe. The dungeon itself isn't that hard, honestly. There's no fancy gimmicks like the last one. We just fight our way through, save the mermaids, and get an item called the Rosetta Stone, and work our way through this labyrinth till we find the Crystal of Water. From it comes a mass of tentacles, the Kraken. It looks down upon these creatures and speaks, "But do you really think you can beat me here in my own domain?" The fight begins again, a new struggle in the battle for good and evil. Corey goes down, but thanks to the strategy I carried into nearly every fight in this game, is to hasten both Dugwing and Sean, then temper. Heal is needed. Dugwing takes down the Kraken with a mighty swing of his Ice Blade, and the Crystal of Water is freed. The Warriors of Light are once again teleported outwards, and the ocean seems to have calmed down. They travel north on the river to reach the Waterfall Cavern and find a mysterious robot in a room full of enemies. After taking them down in another trivial fight, this brings me to a point about another awful status effect in this game. Only a small handful of enemies can inflict it, but stone is the worst. If you get inflicted with stone, your party member is basically dead, and only a gold needle can help them. They're pretty expensive as far as materials go. Upon defeating the room of enemies, the robot speaks to us. "Take this cube. Tiamat. Flying Fortress. Please." I guess that guides us to the next fiend. Boarding the airship, the heroes travel to Melmanigan. A local man named Una gets excited at seeing our Rosetta Stone and pulls us into the graveyard where all good conversations are had. He tells us that the Rosetta Stone can be learned to use Lufenian, a language spoken by the people of Lufenia. He somehow pulls a Matrix on us and teaches us Lufenian in an instant. I wish it were that easy to learn a language, then I'd already know Japanese and could talk about untranslated games. We make our way to Lufenia. One of the first people in town we talk to tells us, "We are the Lufenians, the descendant of the race that once lived amongst the clouds. The Sky People. You use a vessel you call an airship. It was built by one of our ancestors, a man by the name of Cid." And this is fucking huge. As well as Bahamut being a constant in Final Fantasy, Cid is as well. From what I understand, he is in every Final Fantasy game. Meeting one of the elders of the village, excited that they can understand us, they grant us a chime. At last, Calcifer and Corey feel ready for the most powerful spells. In the town of Gaia, there is a special magic shop offering the two most powerful offensive spells in the game, Holy and Flare. Our shopping trip done, we go southwest to the Mirage Tower, climbing to the top of a tower filled with these robots. At the very top of the tower, we kill a blue dragon mini-boss, although this one has red eyes, so Kaiba can't really use it. Sorry, bud. At the very top of Mirage Tower is a teleporter that takes us to the final of the four main dungeons, the Sky Fortress. This is a really straightforward dungeon, honestly, and has an underwhelming second to last boss, as well as, if I'm being honest, even the theme doesn't go that hard in comparison to the other three. However, we do find some adamantite, which we'll be using shortly here for a powerful weapon. Getting to the very tip of the fortress, we encounter the bridge. This bridge has a 4% chance boss that spawns called the War Mech. We grinded for about 10 minutes before getting it, and we got our asses handed to us. I'm just gonna share this now, but I intended to have this big reveal at the end where I showed the footage after how I grinded for 3 fucking hours to get it to appear again, and after I beat it. But in the switch to my new PC, the footage got lost as I recorded it through OBS, but it is in my bestiary as a beaten, so you can trust I did kill that thing at level 40. We find the Green Crystal of Wind, and from it comes a massive dragon that rumbles at us. All the better. May the image of Tiamat, the Fiend of Wind, be the last thing that burns in your eyes. That doesn't make sense. Shouldn't it be below? And we're fighting. Same strategy usual. Temper, haste. Sean falls again, and we slay Tiamat. We get teleported out of the tower, traveling back to the dwarves to receive Excalibur, which will be immediately outclassed by Masamune in the final dungeon. If I had the footage, because I ended stream, here I'd show my grinding on the bridge. I literally watched 3 episodes of Shameless while trying to get this damn thing to appear. Why are the odds so low for an enemy that can just nuke you in an instant? I've gotten off track. We returned to Cornelia with one goal in mind. We found 4 of these crystals, but we saw one other so long ago. A dark crystal in the Shrine of Chaos. That must be the source of all darkness in the world. We are ready, for we are the Warriors of Light. You focus the light of the 4 shining crystals, fire, earth, water, and wind on the crystal. The flow of time surges and space begins to warp. Just one step forward and you'll travel back 2,000 years in time. And with that, we enter the far distant past. The original Shrine of Chaos in all its glory, full of life, but the wrong kind. In this absolutely brutal final dungeon, each of the floors of its basements are themed around one fiend or another, killing the Witch, Merilith, the Kraken, finding Masamune shortly before killing Tiamat again, and finally, at the very bottom, the heart of chaos itself. Entering the final room, you see him again, Garwin. Surely if we can kill him at level 3, then level 48 is doable. Right? Do you remember me? I was once the most renowned knight of Cornelia. 2,000 years from now, you kill me. I am Garland. Oh, you did defeat me then. But the 4 great forces saved me by sending me back through time. Once here, I sent the 4 fiends into the future, where they shall once again use the 4 great forces to send me into the past. In 2,000 years, I will remember none of this. Garwin gets surrounded by a dark energy, and from it comes the final boss, the greatest theoretical evil, Chaos. This fight is legitimately hard. I thought I was going to die several times as I was only level 48 and did it at level 55 previously. But somehow, whether it be by the power of Twitch chat or I got better at strategy, over a grueling, stressful 7-minute battle, I won. Chaos was sealed. An extremely long credit scene monologue begins. The time loop was severed at last. The endless struggle that raged over 2,000 years ended, and peace prevailed once more. The light of the 4 crystals restored the forces of wind, water, earth, and fire. It was a mere trick of fate that had given rise to the chain of Garwin's wrath, but magnified by the 4 forces meant to guide our world, that trick of fate also gave birth to the fiends. But all that is now past. It seemed a cycle into which time had fallen would last forever. But the bravery of 4 young travelers changed that. They took the forces that filled the world with darkness and used them to bathe the world in light. None will ever recall the struggle that the 4 endured for the breaking of the chain. It means that it never existed. But within the tales of fantasy that people tell, the memory of their deeds live on. Tales of dwarves and elves, of dragons and shining civilizations that reached for the heavens even as they fell. But now, their return is upon us. With the memory of their struggle buried deep in their hearts, they will quietly watch over the world. Remember always that the forces of our world must be used as they were intended, that the power of light must never be used for dark, and that the true crystals reside in your heart. For you are the warrior that crossed time. You are the bringer of light. To me, this almost feels like Hironobu's message to the player. They realized this might be their last chance in game development, but they put everything they could into it, and it fucking shows. This feels like him saying, thank you for doing all this. By defeating Garwin, by buying this game, even just by playing it, you've accomplished my dreams. Whenever I feel burnt out creatively, or like I'm not doing enough for my streaming, painting, or any creative task I take on, I remember Final Fantasy I. The Warriors of Light fought so hard for their goals, just as Hironobu fought so hard to make Final Fantasy, just as I will fight hard to create, just as you, dear viewer, who made it to the end, should fight for what you want to create. I just want to say thank you for watching my video on Final Fantasy. If you somehow made it to the end and like what you saw, make sure to like, subscribe, all that YouTuber stuff. All footage was recorded live at twitch.tv/GoryCory06. I'll make sure to put a link in the description, and if you want to be sure to take part in helping with the video essays, or if you want to participate, be sure to join in. It really means a lot to any of you who show support from this random video that probably showed up on your recommended, because YouTube's algorithm doesn't make sense to me. We'll be doing Final Fantasy II at 10 supporters on Patreon. That's also linked down in the description. I said I wasn't going to sell out, but this doesn't really feel like it's selling out. This just feels like, you know, kind of creator stuff. But seriously, thank you for watching. This took a while to make, and it was a very fun project to take on. And I look forward to whatever we make next. Have a good one.